Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Transformation of Cloud Storage Virtual Masterclass. My name is Yoko, and I'm the Partnership Head at the Ortus Club. I'm also here with my colleagues Vincent and Camille, who I believe most of you know already. So before we start, just to give an idea for those who are still not familiar with us, the Ortus Club runs executive knowledge sharing discussions and corporate masterclasses globally. What we do is we bring together intimate groups of senior executives or professionals to learn and talk about specific business topics. So for today, the topic will be about the transformation of cloud storage, rapid adaptability in the face of uncertainty. And this session will last approximately 1 hour and 30 minutes. Of course, none of this won't be possible without someone supporting the event, and we're extremely grateful for Netapp and Kinectics for giving us the opportunity to bring all of you together today. And for today's agenda, in a few short while, we'll be starting with our first presentation on challenges that your business face when moving to cloud by Kinectics. And this will be followed by a presentation on building a successful hybrid and multi-cloud strategy with Netapp. And finally, we'll have a presentation on Kinectics brings the simplicity and flexibility of cloud transformation. Before we end the session, we'll have a few minutes of Q&A, so you can ask whatever questions that you may have for our presenters. Speaking of presenters, I would like to formally introduce our presenters for today in correct order. First, we have Ted, Chief Revenue Officer of Kinectics. So Ted, I can say hi to everyone.
Hi everyone, welcome to the call.
Thanks, Ted. Next, we have Mitch, Principal AWS Solutions Architect at Netapp.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you, thanks.
Last but not the least, we have Wenchi, Chief Technology Officer at Kinectics.
Hi everybody, nice to meet all you here.
Thank you so much, Wenchi. All right, so before I hand it over to Ted, who will be our first presenter, of course, we do have a few engagement activities in store for you for this one. First, we have Spot the Wally, so it's very easy. The first one to spot Wally in one of our presenter slides will get a chance to win a $50 worth of gift voucher from Giftano. So I believe we have 2 of them. So all you need to do is type in the chat the slide number or the slide title. So obviously, first one to send that in wins the gift voucher. Second, if you fail to spot the Wally, you will also get a chance to win a gift voucher worth $50. If you get to answer correctly 2 of our speakers or presenters quiz question, so only 2 questions for them. Again, kindly just place in the chat your answer, and first one to answer it correctly wins. Last but not the least, we of course have a lucky draw. So for those of you who stick around until the very end, we'll be doing a lucky draw amongst the ones who are still with us, and one of you will be winning to get the chance to win a prize. All right, so without further ado, it's now time for the virtual masterclass, and I'll hand it to Ted. So Ted, over to me.
Perfect, thank you. Let me just get my slides on the screen. Excellent. Well, hi everyone. I hope everyone's had a great day today. Welcome to our Masterclass for Transformation of Cloud Storage. My name is Ted Aravindan. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Kinectics. And I think today we've got a pretty good lineup of training / information sharing on some of the new things that's coming out of cloud storage. And I think to keep it typical as well. And look, I think as we all know, when we kind of go through these tough times with COVID and all of that, it's a lot of new things that's happening, a lot of changes happening in the market. Adoption of cloud is just soaring through the roof. So I mean, I think today's topic we hope is going to be very relevant and typical for you, and worth your time as well. So just to kind of start on this, right? So, as we and Kinectics, and of course Netapp, when we kind of look at the market, there's a lot of challenges that businesses are facing today, let alone the COVID issues. I think it's really all around how do we then transform ourselves or our businesses to keep up with the times? What are our business objectives? Understanding that very clearly is obviously the first part, but then, there's a lot of things that are changing around the compliance space, right? Where do you keep data? How secure is it going to be? How do you access the data? And a lot of online, platforms, it's all about how fast can you get access to data? How do you back it up? I mean, so there's all these different aspects, a very complex world in the storage world, right? So I think there's a lot of compliance issues and new kind of challenges that are coming up when you move things into cloud, and whether you want to keep it in hybrid, creates a lot of new compliance issues. And then you kind of start talking about, hey, today I'm on a traditional on-prem. Now I want to move into a cloud environment. What does it look like? What do I want to move? You don't necessarily have to move everything. And, when you move it, how do you actually do the migration? So I think the migration process as well, we want to look at how to automate it. And, so those are things that, business leaders and technical leaders are really kind of, dabbling with, right? And that's a lot of questions we get asked. And by the way, how many of you on this call have challenges hiring the right talent? I mean, the amount of technical hiring that's going out in the market is just phenomenal. I don't think I've seen this in the last 5 to 8 years. The amount of challenges that's that we are facing on hiring and then of course retaining people, right? So that's a huge aspect. And of course what that means is you want to automate and you want to kind of keep things as simple as possible. And then of course the typical one, your data, your apps might be designed for the on-prem world. How do you then do the app modernization? How do you kind of refactor those, whether that's application, containerized or serverless? And then again with data, right? I mean, there is a lot of challenges on, kind of moving away from traditional, data warehousing, and how do you kind of look at data lakes and how do you kind of move that across, right? How do you keep a hybrid model, right? So I think these are a lot of the challenges that we feel that customers such as yourselves would be going through, right? And as companies, we kind of go through that ourselves, right? We collect a ton of data, and how do we manage that, and how do we do that? So we're all kind of going through that. So as part of the adoption that we are kind of looking at, right? So again, how do we kind of do things much faster? You want to get your products, your applications out in the market much faster, and you kind of, if you map it from a business sense, it all kind of lies down into your tech aspects, right? All the way into, how fast can I actually get access to my data, right? So I think all of this kind of has to tie into a business model, right? Then the second part as well is huge competition. Growth is a big driver. Looking at new technologies that you want to kind of leverage because you're looking for ways to reduce IT costs, right? And, again, might have multiple data centers, you might be hosting it in different areas. Now you got cloud that you want to host it on as well. How do you kind of consolidate all of that, right? So I think, the adoption questions kind of come in the second level as to, how do you kind of address the IT challenges that we just talked about, right? So I just wanted to kind of introduce Cloud Kinectics as to how we help our customers address some of these challenges. Of course, working with partners like Netapp on kind of looking at some modernization aspects of how you can actually leverage the technologies. And at Cloud Kinectics, we've been around for about 8 years. So originally, the company was named InfoFabrica. And as part of an acquisition, InfoFabrica acquired Cloud Kinectics. And we have now acquired 5 different companies, and we're building a cloud platform, right? And as part of that process, we got about 450 customers. Our certifications within the company has been growing at a phenomenal level. This is something that we are driving and we're very proud of. And essentially, our focus is really on cloud and hybrid cloud. How do we help customers move to cloud, adopt cloud? And when I mean cloud, it includes hybrid cloud as well. We are present in Southeast Asia and India predominantly, and we are looking into actively expanding into Australia as well as Europe. Our service offerings are varied to address a lot of the challenges that you will face when you move into cloud. And we also do have a fair amount of intellectual property in how do we do things faster, automated, how do we help you with your cloud management side of things and FinOps, etc. So these are a lot of the things that we do. And as partners, we work with the likes of Netapp, and equally we work with partners like AWS, GCP, Azure, etc. And and this is where we differentiate ourselves as someone who understands the on-prem technologies, specializing in some of their on-prem technologies like storage, hence our strong alliance with Netapp, strong workings with VMware. So that's our pedigree, kind of bringing that hybrid cloud focus. And then one of the large companies that we acquired, Kinectics, whose name that we are now using, is the born in the cloud company, and we bring a lot of capabilities on the cloud, right? On AWS, we are a premier partner and a managed services partner for AWS, a premier partner for GCP and Azure, etc. So I think that's kind of where we focus, both the public cloud and helping customers adopt cloud, moving from on-prem, and hence our focus and differentiator is really hybrid cloud. And look, we do have a number of select customers, some of the brand names that you might recognize, and our real focus right now is really helping our customers take cloud, transform and move things to cloud, and do it the right way at the right price. Just to kind of let you know on some of our certifications, this is a list that is growing on a weekly basis, and we love kind of sharing this because when you're in a certain domain, you want to know that you're working with someone that understands and has a lot of varied capabilities, and Cloud Kinectics is very proud to kind of share these capabilities with yourselves when we work with you. And our presence as well is across Southeast Asia and India at this stage. And we are very proud to be building a go-to-market team as well as technical teams and delivery teams across the region. We have our development centers are in India, is in Singapore and Indonesia at this stage. So coming to today's session, right? So today it's a joint Netapp Cloud Kinectics session. You're going to hear from Mitch, who is a principal architect at Netapp and has been in the industry for I don't want to say very long time because he looks very young, but long enough to do some damage. And he's been with AWS as well. And then we have Vinci, and Vinci is our founder of InfoFabrica at Cloud Kinectics. So he brings in a lot of business acumen, and don't be fooled by that. He is probably extremely technical as well. So I'm kind of waiting to see the two presentations and how they kind of go after the technology side. So again, look, the focus is really going to be around on FSX, which has just recently been announced and launched. I think that's seeing a lot of value, got a lot of interest from the market. Spot has also been, really adopted a lot, as well as it's morphing a lot, right, Mitch? So I think there's a lot of new things that are coming around Spot. So I think that's going to be extremely interesting. And also we wanted to touch on Keystone as well. Keystone's a project that Netapp has, which is a consumption-based approach. So very much around how to address the business and financial aspects of customers like yourself. So without further ado, let me pass this on to Mitch. Take it away, Mitch.
Thanks very much, Ted. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I just like to point something out that's really unique about Cloud Kinectics. Typically what we find from a Netapp perspective is that we've got two types of partners in our ecosystem. So we've got a set of partners that are very traditional and focus on doing all things in the data center really, really well. And then we've got a set of new partners that focus on cloud workloads and customers in the cloud, and they do that really well. But none of them really mix the two together in a hybrid way like Cloud Kinectics does. So I do find that really unique about Cloud Kinectics, and I'm really happy to be here today to present to you some content around who Netapp are today, what our approach is, and some of the technologies that we have both to support your data needs on-prem, but then also in the cloud. So who am I? My name is Mitch Bunce, Principal Solution Architect here at Netapp. While I focus on AWS, I've been in and around the Netapp ecosystem for well over a decade. And, Ted might have mentioned I've got a bit of a young face, but please do not let looks deceive you. Very much older than I look. The joys of moisturization cream, I suppose. So getting into it, where I wanted to start today was particularly around a concept that Netapp built quite a few years ago, which is called a data fabric. One of the challenges we saw, and Netapp identified this early on as what we were known as a traditional storage vendor, is that more and more customers were starting to utilize cloud services. And the biggest challenge when you operate workloads in a data center and you want to start moving those workloads to cloud is the portability of the data. Migrating to cloud from on-prem is a challenge. Most customers need to move at a particular velocity, and I can see someone's found Wally there. That's awesome. Particular velocity, and they don't necessarily have the data separated or decoupled from the application. So with Netapp, we've built a set of services that help customers move their data so that it's in the right place at the right time. So we built this concept called a data fabric, and that does just that. By this set of services and working with our great partners like Kinectics, we're able to help you move data to where you need it the most. So how do you build a data fabric with Netapp? The first part we start with is a product we bought out called Cloud Manager. Think of that as the orchestration layer, if you will. And Cloud manages your portal into a Netapp product, be it one that runs in the cloud, so either as a native service or as a third-party service on Azure, Google, or AWS, or in your data center, or a combination of all those things. From a cloud storage perspective, Netapp's been working in partnership with all the three major hyperscalers you can see here for a number of years. AWS in particular, since around 2012, we've been working with Microsoft for a very, very long time, actually 20-something years now. We've got a number of integrations into their software suite of platforms, both on-prem and in the cloud, and more recently, Google Cloud as well. So Ted mentioned earlier FSx for Netapp Ontap, which I'll cover in a couple of minutes over the next few slides, but that's a first-party service we released with Amazon. Cloud Volumes Ontap, we brought that product to market in 2014, and that allows customers to overcome some common challenges we see, especially around data migration, which I'll cover in a few minutes as well. And then lastly, from a cloud storage perspective, Azure Netapp Files. So customers within Microsoft Azure have particular requirements, especially when they want to run high-performance workloads like SAP HANA, for example. We brought a solution to market with Microsoft that allows customers to do that and get the performance they need that they might not have been able to get from native cloud storage solutions before. What's probably really unique there, and one comment that I get from customers quite a bit in discussion is the cost of storage in cloud or the cost of infrastructure resources in cloud. Netapp's got some really neat and unique features that allow you to utilize our software to overcome common cloud storage challenges. And as you can see on the right-hand side there, in most cases, we see customers save a significant amount by using those features. In terms of cloud data protection, we have a number of solutions that fall within that category, if you will. So Cloud Backup, we released a service actually a few years ago now called Cloud Backup Service. That not only allows you to back up your Netapp systems on-prem, but also workloads within the cloud and store them in object storage for long-term retention. In terms of Kubernetes, this is really close to my heart. Kubernetes, Netapp delivered or created what we call a persistent storage driver or module for Kubernetes many years ago, called the Docker Volume plugin. That's advanced over time, and now it's called the Trident persistent storage driver, which falls under our Astra project. By using that, you're able to overcome some of the persistent storage challenges most customers face within Kubernetes environments today. I'll talk a little bit more about Kubernetes in a little bit and data portability in terms of microservices and protecting data in those environments, which is a challenge. We also developed a product called Cloud Sync. One thing we see quite a bit is that customers have very heterogeneous environments within their data center. They might not necessarily use the same vendor for different parts of their infrastructure stack. So using Cloud Sync, you've got the capability to move data from anywhere to anywhere. And what I mean by that is you've got the capability to move data from on-prem, maybe it's a third-party vendor storage array or a proprietary appliance, to the cloud in a really efficient manner. One thing Netapp has been building for well over 20 years is our Ontap software. And you'll probably hear me say this a fair bit throughout the presentation, but Data Ontap is at the core of Netapp's capability. It's a software solution known as a storage operating system to some that we've been building over almost 30 years now. And that capability is available not only in the cloud, but in your data center as well. Netapp's got a number of engineered systems that support many different use cases and workload types. And more interestingly, over the last couple of years, we've been developing a private cloud as a service solution called Keystone. So if you think of the way you procure cloud services in a very pay-as-you-need-it style model, like an OPEX model, if you will, pay per use or pay per month, Netapp released a service called Keystone that wraps up all of those technologies within your data center, and you can operate them as a private cloud or private cloud as a service model. What's pretty interesting is that Cloud Kinectics are a Keystone partner of Netapp, so they work really closely with us in and around those solutions, which I'll talk a little bit more in a minute. One thing we find quite a bit is when customers move from on-prem to the cloud, especially common workloads like file services, one of the big challenges is synchronizing that data set with either end users or offices, especially if it's a global deployment or a deployment with many remote sites, which is kind of what we see throughout Asia Pacific here, and giving the users the experience that they had before. Most users and applications use distributed or unstructured file data in one way or another in their working day. And when you pick up a workload and move it from on-prem to the cloud, sometimes the outcome for the user is not the same as they're used to before. So Netapp released a number of products, one called Global File Cache. That was actually an acquisition from a company called Talon, or what we call SDS, which is a software-defined version of Ontap software that you can run on commodity hardware. And what that gives customers the capability to do is run an unstructured data set in the cloud, but be able to cache most recently used data close to the user. More these days, what we're starting to see, aside from simple file services workloads, is customers that are starting to explore with things like machine learning and AI. In particular, I've been working with a supermarket chain that has their AI and some of their machine learning models in the cloud that they distribute to their stores. Think of the concept where a customer wants to walk into a shop and purchase something without having to pay someone. So say they could use an application on their phone and use that to log in. When they walk into the store, they can scan items with their phone and it will just get charged off their account. In terms of cloud optimization, this was a huge acquisition for Netapp. We acquired a company called Spot about 2 years ago now, roughly, and we've been building in Spot to our overall ecosystem. What's really unique about Spot is that under the Spot banner or Spot by Netapp, there's a number of products that focus on cost optimization in the cloud. Cost optimization is a very big topic of focus for a lot of executives in organizations today, be it particularly around the coin term FinOps. And one thing we see is that customers sometimes have applications within their environment that they can't necessarily re-platform or re-host as part of a migration. And typically what we see the most is either a lift and shift or a lift and optimize. And as you'd all know as technology professionals and executives on this call, is that sometimes workloads can't be transformed, and what worked within a data center on-prem doesn't necessarily work within the confines of a cloud environment. So we partnered with Spot and we've brought out a number of products that allow you to assess and analyze compute workloads that you run in the cloud. Essentially, it plugs within your Amazon or Azure environment, and we've got some smart technology within that allows you to understand what you're spending, where and why. But what's really unique about Spot is that it gives you the ability to go and make those changes and optimizations automatically. There are a lot of cost optimization tools out there today that tell you what you could save, but they don't help you implement those changes to save that money. Spot helps you do this in a really automated way. And lastly, just wrapping up this data fabric story is around cloud observability. So one thing I see way too much is that a customer picks up a workload from on-prem and moves it into the cloud and doesn't have the same experience that they did on-prem. That could be because the way the application architecture was built for a traditional data center environment required maybe a certain level of latency or performance or availability. And while that made sense in a data center environment, moving that workload into the cloud and how it operates inherently differently, they're not getting the same level of performance or maybe durability or availability that they need because of that legacy architecture. So Netapp has a product called Cloud Insights, and that's an amazing tool. It's not just for Netapp technology. It supports a number of different vendor solutions from infrastructure right the way through to software. And it gives you the capability to understand what you have within your environment, especially from a storage perspective. Storage and data is usually the most challenging to migrate, and all of the dependencies that may make up, say, an application stack, for example. And by being able to understand what you have, how it's performing, and what its dependencies are, say a service or an application, not only can you benchmark what its performance like is today or what good looks like, you can understand the impact or the risk of, if I move this component to the cloud, what other effects is it going to have throughout my environment. And the great part with Cloud Insights is that because it's a SaaS-based service with simple connectors, there's not much work required to get it to deploy within your environment. So it kind of gives you that observability capability where you can understand what you have today, what it looks like, how it runs now. And then as you go through a journey of migrating it to the cloud, how it operates throughout that migration journey, and then how it operates once it's in the cloud. Netapp also have a bunch of integrated technologies like DataSense, for example. I think Ted mentioned on this before, but one thing we see quite a bit is that customers are rapidly adopting cloud and moving workloads to the cloud. But one thing that isn't growing at the rate of cloud adoption is cloud capability and cloud skills. So we find that especially in customers that are new to cloud, their technology team and organization are still developing their cloud capability and skill set. And one challenge is that as people are developing their skills and best practices, things can go missed or maybe be misconfigured that could result in presenting unacceptable risk to a business. So DataSense gives you that insight into what data you have, who has access to it, and suggestions around how to secure that. Now, what's really interesting is if you wrap all these technologies together, you get a data fabric. And your data fabric would be vastly different to someone else's. While some of the fundamental things would be there, you've got a full portfolio of software products that you can use at your disposal to make sure that you've got your data in the right place at the right time. And probably a big point to note here, especially around the want to optimize cost, is one constant throughout all of this is Netapp's Ontap operating system or Ontap software. That's at the heart and center of a data fabric. And no matter where your workload is running, the skill set that you need would be the same. All the commands are the same. We've got a rich API services layer that tie into many different, say, for example, infrastructure as code or automation type capabilities, as well as developer and CI/CD tools. So moving along, how's Netapp helping customers in 2021? I wanted to focus on 4 key points here and point out some of the things that we've been doing lately with some of our customers in Asia Pacific. So the first one is around increasing service agility and flexibility, particularly around being able to leverage public cloud or building their own private cloud. So as it says on the screen there, public clouds do increase the speed and agility of your business, and they do help you innovate faster. But the challenge we see sometimes is being able to get the data there quickly or the workload there in an easy way. Netapp, as I mentioned before on the previous slide around our data fabric, provides you that capability to quickly and easily and securely move data, whether it's from on-prem to AWS, maybe it's AWS to Azure, or to Google, or back again. Sometimes we find maybe in a time of need, especially with COVID, as Ted mentioned, a lot more office workers have been working from home. So we saw a massive rise in virtual desktop utilization, for example. So being able to provide that capability in public cloud because maybe necessarily a customer didn't have the compute resources on-prem, and being able to do that quickly and react to those changes in our working environments has been really helpful. The other one's around building private clouds. So I mentioned before a little bit about Netapp's automation capability and rich API services layer. We've also got a set of best practices that tie in particularly well with tooling like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, Terraform, etc. And we've got not only a set of technologies, but a set of capabilities, especially with partners like Cloud Kinectics, that can make use of these technologies to help you create a service-orientated architecture and really automate the day-to-day operations of your private cloud data center so that your staff are spending their time doing more value-added activities for the business instead of traditional day-to-day operations. The next area we're helping customers is around aligning consumption to business models. So one thing we're seeing quite a bit is customers change from the want of procuring services through a traditional CapEx or big capital purchase to moving towards a pay-as-you-use or pay-as-you-go and managed services approach. That's why Netapp released our offering called Keystone, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later. The next is also around an appliance approach versus software defined. So I mentioned a little bit earlier is that no matter where your data runs in a Netapp data fabric, it's utilizing that same Ontap software. So if you've written particular capability for on-prem, you can run that same capability within the cloud. What's really interesting too is this point around innovation and creativity. So one thing we've seen, and I mentioned this before, is the rapid adoption of microservices. So think Kubernetes and container style architectures. A lot of customers we see are migrating from traditional virtual machine environments to microservices architecture, but one of the big challenges is persistent storage within that layer. That's where our Astra project that we released along with Trident and some of the other persistent storage capabilities build into that. But Netapp's also got some amazing technology like FlexClone, for example, that really allows you to rapidly deploy dev and test environments and improve developer efficiency. We've got some great partnerships with companies like NVIDIA, and also AI ML technology partners that allow us to assist customers in building next generation data pipelines and data lakes. And then probably the last point is around controlling and reducing risks and costs. So Netapp's built this technology for many years called ActiveIQ. ActiveIQ, you could think of it as like a telemetry system. So all of our customers that have Ontap that live around the world, what's interesting is that by utilizing ActiveIQ, you can quickly get an understanding of is your environment secure and is it meeting particular compliance requirements? And then also too, some of the technology we've got built into Ontap like F policy, we can do things like ransomware detection and so forth. So moving along, the next area I wanted to focus on, which is the one most near and dear to my heart and I'm terribly excited about, is on the 2nd of September last month, Netapp has been working in conjunction with Amazon for a couple of years now to overcome some of the common storage challenges customers have in AWS Cloud. In most cases, we found that customers, while they enjoy utilizing Amazon services, sometimes the features that were available in their data center and they were used to using from a storage capability perspective weren't available within the cloud. So Amazon chose to partner with Netapp to release what we call Amazon FSx for Netapp Ontap. So that capability I've been talking to you about up until now in terms of what Ontap has and is able to offer our customers is now available as a native managed service within Amazon. So think of an Ontap operating system, just like a storage system on-prem, that's now able to be deployed within Amazon from their console within a matter of minutes. So not only does that allow you to do things like connect your on-prem data center to the cloud, it allows you to do other interesting things with the data that I'll touch on in a little bit. So FSx Ontap, it's available every region in Amazon and it has been from day one. What's interesting is the product is only 6 weeks old now. This is the fastest growing product we've had at Netapp, full stop. We've got thousands of deployments globally now with a number of customers throughout APAC that we've been working with. Some of the key integrations, as you would expect, integrations within the AWS ecosystem itself. So think like CloudTrail, CloudWatch, CloudFormation, accessibility from within VMware Cloud on AWS, and then also two things that I've been talking about a little bit earlier around persistent storage for EKS or Kubernetes environments, and then bringing some of those more enterprise features into cloud storage. The great part is it's integrated tightly with Netapp's ecosystem. So if you're running a Netapp workload on-prem, you've got the capability to do a couple of clicks to migrate that workload to AWS, which is really neat through using our technologies like SnapMirror, for example. In terms of management, this is what I love about this service. You can either use the full AWS native toolset, so for example, the management console, the CLI, or the API, but then also to the native Netapp tools. So if you're an existing Netapp customer that's been used to managing a system in a certain way, all those skills that you had on-prem now apply to the cloud from a Netapp storage perspective, which is amazing. In Asia Pacific region, I see customers doing a combination of both, but particularly more and more starting to leverage infrastructure as code capability and features. And Cloud Kinectics have got some awesome capability around that they could help you move to a hybrid model and be able to automate those workloads once you move them to the cloud. So common use cases, what I see for FSx are a couple of things. One of them is data center migration, so from on-prem to AWS. If you're an existing Netapp customer, we can do that really easy with our SnapMirror technology. If you're a non-Netapp customer, that's okay. We've got you covered with that product I talked about before called CloudSync. That supports really easy migration of data and workloads. Another common use case we see is file services running within the cloud. What's super unique about FSx Ontap is it provides you the capability to support multi-protocol. So not only can you present workloads over things like NFS and SMB, even at the same time to different users or workloads, you can also present block storage options as well. With our global file cache capability, that allows you to provide the same end user experience they had before and cache that file workload that you're running in cloud now on-prem. And then things like backup and tiering. So this is another super unique feature. With tiering within the cloud, granted, there are things like lifecycle policies for, say, S3 into Glacier, but from a block storage or performance storage perspective, there's no real capability until now where you can tier data from a performance tier, so say EBS SSD, down to object storage, transparently to the end user and application. And what's really interesting about this is that in most cases, we see customers dramatically cut their storage cost in cloud by using our automated tiering capability. Probably another unique thing there is around our backup and snapshotting capability and the durability and availability this service has. One challenge I see customers have a lot in AWS is their management of storage, especially between accounts or between availability zones. So FSx gives you that capability to make your storage available across multiple availability zones and or multiple regions as well. So where can you find out more? There's a bunch of resources. I'll share these with you all following this session. But when you think of Netapp, I really want to leave you with three things. Hybrid cloud. So Netapp really truly does give you that capability to have your data in the right place at the right time. And you can run that workload, be it in your data center or in the cloud or a combination of the two. Around cost transformation, I wanted to share with you a little story about a customer that I worked with really closely in APAC. They made use of Amazon, actually, and Azure as well. But one of their biggest challenges was transforming the way they consumed their storage infrastructure so that they could pay per use and pay per month. They historically purchased storage based on a CapEx model. So they would size a solution and architect a solution for 5 years. They would make sure they had the requirements right at the time of purchase. They'd invest a lot of capital. They would purchase a solution. And then maybe a year, maybe 2 or 3 years down the track, the business's requirements have changed rapidly, and they have to go cap in hand back to their finance or procurement teams to ask for more money to change the architecture of that solution. With Keystone, which is a Netapp solution we've released to market, gives customers the ability to buy what they need today from an on-prem storage infrastructure perspective, and then increase that as their needs and requirements change over time. So not only does that provide you with the freedom to choose infrastructure based on what your requirements are and pay for it at the time, it gives you the capability to work with a company like Cloud Kinectics to do the management and operation of that. Cloud Kinectics are a keystone partner of Netapp and have the capability in-house to look after that day-to-day aspects of running a storage environment, which is fantastic. The last point I wanted to leave you with is around application and infrastructure modernization. Things change at a rapid pace, and Netapp's got a great portfolio to support you in that. So lastly, I wanted to ask a quiz question. This was one of the fun things that the Auditors Club requested us as part of this presentation. So I wanted to open this up to the audience. I'm actually looking at the chat here. My question is, what was Netapp's data Ontap inspired by? So I'll pause there and see if any answers are coming through on the chat.
Maybe you need to give them a clue.
And it wasn't technology. Think of Ontap. What's typically Ontap? And it's not. Hey, look like we've got an answer there. Yep, beer. That's right. That's correct. The correct answer is beer. So a gent by the name of David Hitz or Dave Hitz, Ontap, interestingly, was inspired by beer. And since every release of data Ontap software that we've been building for the last almost 30 years now has had a release has been aligned to a particular beer from around the world. So there you go. Interesting fact. And that's it from me. So look, we're going to play a short video now, and then I'll hand over to Wenchi, who's the group CTO from Cloud Kinectics. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you listening.
We don't fly the planes. We enable transactions that allow airlines to take flight. We don't build facial recognition software. We organize the distinct, detailed data that protects your personal information. We don't fill the prescriptions. We manage the data that lets you know when they're ready. We don't launch the rockets. We store the data that empowers our pioneers to know where they've been and where they're headed. At the core of our customer's journey, Netapp nurtures innovative data solutions that push beyond the current possibilities.
All right. I think it's now time for Wenchi. Go ahead, Wenchi.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mish. Thank you, Mish, to the last question. It's a surprise for me, definitely. So maybe let me see. Before I start, maybe I tell a bit myself. Actually, I was ex Netapp, right? So I almost want to try this. I asked Mish, can I try the question? Right? Then I can get the prize. But because I know the answer. Right? Yeah. So So because I will share Michelle a bit my story a bit myself, right? So I was in left Netapp around 8 years. Yeah. So we say thank you for reminding me on the data fabric story I mentioned. Okay? It's always glad to hear the story. Can all of you imagine? I said Netapp has this data fabric story 10 years ago. To me, 10 years ago, if we have this concept, it's very advanced. That means 10 years ago, Netapp is thinking, right? You shouldn't be locked down by some of the big service provider, like cloud service provider. Now, all the I'm sure all the attendees now I can see that day in day out always smart, right? Even the government, I look at maybe I just quote the government latest MAS framework. Actually, whoever the service provider should give customer a solution. They are not locked down by all the cloud service provider like maybe AWS, Google, Azure. They need to provide them option anytime can come out. So can you think about it like 10 years ago? The data is the concept. The data mobility can cause all the cloud service provider not locked down by anybody. This is where I trust Netapp has the right vision. And 8 years ago, then I came out to set up a company right called Infofabrica. Now we acquired by iSquare. That's what like Ted mentioned. So we brand that called Kinectics. So we believe the same vision. So I'm not sure all of you is an IT expert, right? So there's one big company, like one of the biggest software company, took the same vision. The company called Vmware. So the Vmware had the senior vision. They try to make a pet. This is one of the best CEO in the world. Pat, the ex Vmware CEO. So they make this a hybrid multi-cloud vision. So they decided to partner with AWS. Come out this VMware on AWS. They partner at the time. I met when the CIO forum in Singapore, and he shared, right? So when he made this decision, partner with his biggest competitor, AWS, actually all his direct report against him. Okay, this is not an easy decision, but fast forward to now, right? So I guess it proved he made the right decision. Now he can really compete or partner with all the AWS, Azure, Google, have a big ecosystem play. Now VMware is a big player, right? Still is a very important player in the cloud market. Okay, just share, right? So feel free to ask me if you have any question in the chat. So definitely try to address it. Okay, so Netapp has shared the technology they have is part of the data fabric. So I guess I want to try to share what does this mean for us as a service provider, and then how we integrate with all Netapp technology, Netapp storage, right? In order to have an end-to-end solution, right? We have to integrate other components. How we utilize Netapp technology, integrate all our entire solution for our customer and partners. So I will spend a little bit more time on this slide because this is our vision, this is our platform building. This is I would say this is a realization of a data fabric also. This is what is our vision. So Netapp is part of it's a storage, right? But in order to really help customer to realize data mobility, right, across private cloud, hybrid cloud, all the public cloud, it's not easy task. Even last time maybe more VM based, like now, like Mitch mentioned, like now is moving to a container world. The hybrid cloud, multi-cloud technology have evolved, and then will be serverless. Right, so we spend a lot more time in this slide. Please ask me if you have any questions. Then a subsequent slide more on how we get you on board to this architecture. Right, I will try to skip. I have a lot 20 slides, but I'm not going to spend each 5 minutes on each slide. Okay, I guess this is the most important slide I will go through, and so you can see on the left hand side, right? So on the bottom is on-prem. Then on the top is a cloud environment. So we believe the world definitely will be hybrid multi-cloud. So on-prem, what we have, right? So on the left-hand side, we will be vCloud Director, right? Is in a Vmware world, right? Is VCPP, right? We have SSDDC, like multi-tenanted, and it could be, so we are working with AWS. So AWS just announced, right? VMware available on AWS Outpost. So this will allow us help AWS build region, maybe even outside Singapore, build it in Thailand, build it in Vietnam, right? So there'll be two more, right? One is we use our whatever hardware in the certified hardware in the market, we build multi-tenanted SADDC or build a multi-tenanted on Outpost. So for your information, so we are a launch partner. We're a launch partner for CDS, Cloud Director services. And on the bottom side, right, in the middle, actually we build our own hybrid Kubernetes cluster. So we have the offering, and then if customer needed, we can build a dedicated service offering for them. So this is open source and then not locked down by anybody. This is Kubernetes standard. We can integrate with all the cloud environment like AWS, Azure, and Google. Like AWS have to, you can have build your own cluster on a VM base. Definitely this support, and we can integrate at AWS EKS. And since this is everybody going to container, right? So since we are doing this, we have so much interest party, like even AWS want to part of this engineering, and where actually Intel, we are building this all together Intel. So Intel, they have a container optimization code inside the CPU. So that's why I put Intel logo there. They're part of this engineering effort to together build hybrid multi-cloud Kubernetes cluster for our customers. Then on the right-hand side, right, definitely this our important topic is Net Keystone, right? So this Netapp storage on-prem, we offer it as a services. It can connect to whatever SDDC and Kubernetes cluster. So these are core in terms of storage. So this on-prem, right? Then very important, right? We are the launch partner or expert on all the cloud side, like what Ted has shared. So we have we are going to launch. We are just having all the marketing and preparation. We will launch a multi-tenant. We are VMC launch partner. You do a Google search, you can see our name there. We are VMware and AWS launch partner. Definitely, we are going to launch multi-tenant. This is called CDS services on AWS VMC. So we will make it like this, where on the bottom, right, we will make like VM as services anywhere. Yeah, you want to on-prem, you want to on AWS, you want to even on GCVE, the Google Cloud, right? It's possible. Same things for Kubernetes. We can offer you a container as a services. You can anytime, like Mitch talked about portable, right? We can not only now next generation hybrid cloud, right? We can help you to portable for VM anywhere, anytime. Then now is next gen, we can port your container anywhere, anytime. Then this multi-tenant actually is quite a complex solution in the technology. So on the right hand side is your own AWS account. So we are able to do a end-to-end multi-tenanted share secure environment for you. So there's a right hand side, actually your own AWS account. So we are able to we have these services available now in Singapore. So if some of you know, like VMC, everybody know, like VMware AWS is the best solution, best hybrid solution. Unfortunately, it's expensive. Yeah, so now we make it available. Even you want to have one VM, it's possible. And very important on the back end, right? You can see some slide. I'm not sure there was some worry there, but there's some slide Michelle mentioned. So FSX is definitely support VMC. Right? So one of the issue for VMC, AWS, when we architect enterprise solution, and if you want more, this is a traditional HCI problem where we need more storage. Then you need to provision more node. Then they're very costly. Which Netapp like FXX, all can be Keystone, right? There's a direct connect, right? Will be one of the solution. You want to provision more storage, you just native provision net storage. Then support your storage expansion independently from VMC. So this is how we really offer storage as a services to our customer. So on top of this, we have our own on the top, right? You can see Arcus. Arcus is our own cloud management platform. So we have our own IP, we have our own engineering development platform, support multi-cloud. So you have one panel to really monitor all the cloud environment. And so since the Keystone and FX just launched, so this in our roadmap to include Arcus, include all the platforms supported. One panel, you can monitor, operate, optimize your environment. So I hope I spent enough time to go through this slide. This slide is a busy slide. I believe maybe after that, the agency will share the slide to all of you. Okay, if you have a question, feel free to ask me. Let me try to see. Okay, let me move to next slide. Okay, so how are we going to help you to onboard to this architecture, right? Definitely there will be onboarding, and then there'll be professionals help you to do assessment, and then migrate to this platform. After that, very important, right? Help you to manage it. Okay, this is fully managed services. So I don't need to go into too much detail of this. I just want to keep this slide. I want to touch a bit on security, right? Move to cloud, right? There are top two concerns, right? To whoever need the cloud transformation. Number one is cost, right? That's why Mitch talked about a lot of the cost optimization. Netapp has one of the best tool Spot, right? We have a lot of enterprise customers really use Spot to optimize the environment. Number two, security, right? So we have many security services really help you to monitor all the cloud security on the cloud. This is very important. So I will spend some time. This is a very simple slide. I am sure all the IT professionals understand this, how is the PS delivery process. Later on, we will have a very simple question. Like this as a questionnaire, I don't have to worry, but I have a question for all you. So I want to stay a few seconds over here because my question will relate to this. Okay, I want to touch a bit on this slide. Right? This although similar or whatever slide I mentioned before, but there's one I want to highlight, like automation with DevOps. So everything right now, so how we manage, how we deploy, right, by our cloud managed platform Arcus over here on the right-hand side. So everything provisioned by code, right? So whatever is automation, it's by Terraform script, and then there's a process. So I guess at this junction, like this is a mandate, also it's a compliance for all our professional sales team. Nothing is a manual provision, and then this is compliance, and then this increase automation, agility. So everything is a by type of process, right? Like in a way, deploy infrastructure as a code, manage as a code. Okay, just want to mention this. So there's a migration methodology. I'm not going to go into these very details. Like migration not only about technology, the people and process. So all this we have a migration strategy because I just want to highlight a bit. We are AWS migration company partner. So we are AWS Vmware master competency partner. So in this region, ASEAN, right, I validated this from both VMware and AWS. We are the only partner have both competency status. So that's why both AWS and VMware is their default partner for any VMC migration. When you go to do a migration to cloud, right, you have to think about it. Retire, retain, repurchase, rehost, replatform, refactor, right? So these are one of our methodology to share all you. I'm not going to go into very details. So after you migrate, right, then we will help you to manage it. So all our managed services is powered by our CMP platform, Arcus. So with all these functions, and this is our dashboard. And there's one quick function, this is related to the cost, right? Cost optimization. We indicate this is a build on cloud, this is cloud native, build on, in fact, our CMP build on AWS. So there's one important function as we integrate with Amazon forecast. So means they give you a cost forecast, how you can manage your cost better. And this my last slide is our managed service offering, and we have a different category with the different SLA. So if you are more would like to understand more detail, definitely happy to share with you all the slides. Okay, Q&A time, not Q&A, question time, right? I hope you, although I don't have this worry, I hope I did stop on the slide for quite a while, okay? Any taker? Wow, okay. Wow. This is very easy. This is the easiest question for you, right? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wenji. And yeah, I think now it's time for some Q&A. You're done, right? Okay, great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. I think we did have a few questions before, which was addressed already through the chat, but it was during Mitch's presentation. So maybe I can ask them, and Mitch can also address it. So 2 questions. Yeah, I think UPS left already, but are you integrating to any China-originated cloud vendor? Example given Tencent, AliCloud, or even CN Azure. If you do, how are your solution overcome the issues related to Great China Firewall?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that does come up quite a bit. Not at this stage. However, I can provide Chong some further information around that, if he likes, or she likes.
Thank you so much. All right, any more questions? Okay, I think I have one also for Wenchi. Wenchi, what do you think are some other limiting factors or factor in cloud adoption other than an organization can sustain the change?
Okay, there's one, I get both Mitch and Ted mentioned, right? Tenant. Like, I guess somebody in the chat also mentioned, right? I just share as a reality, right? So I'm surprised, right? For the past 2 months in Singapore, I get based in Singapore. I visited 4 customers, right? And I'm surprised. Some of the government sector, some of it's a startup, right? The entire application team, right? Because they part application on is on the cloud, right? They all left, okay. So that means in the Singapore market, everybody fighting for cloud tenant, okay. Yeah. So this, to me, now this is the number 1 challenge. Yeah, going through the cloud. Definitely on the other side, right, like I mentioned, is cost and security. But I do see tenant is one of the big challenge. Just is coming up. Okay.
Thank you so much, Wenchi. And over to Mitch again. Mitch, another quick question. It seems like FSX Ontap product release has been very successful. How long has Netapp been working in collaboration with AWS?
That's a good question. We've been working with Amazon since roughly 2012 officially. That started at reInvent back then. And yeah, ever since then, really, we've released a number of products on Amazon Cloud and have a lot of great integration. Probably a little bit on Wenchi's point earlier, because that touched a bit of a soft spot for me, is around skills and capabilities. I came from a traditional infrastructure background, and for about the last 7 or so years, I've been focused 100% on cloud. I myself had to transform, but when you're trying to transform and perform and do your day job at the same time, that can be pretty hard. And one thing we see quite a bit, I see this especially, is customers that have the great talent and the great skills are able to advance a lot quicker than ones that might not have that capability in-house. So having the right partners to assist you in that is critical.
Amazing. Yeah. So what would you say is the most unique feature about FSX Ontap?
That's a great question. Again, I'd like to know who asked that, because really, I think the biggest feature that Netapp's been able to assist Amazon with, Amazon have about 66% roughly globally of the file storage market in cloud. And one of the biggest challenges has been addressing capabilities or requirements that enterprise customers had. So with Ontap and all our rich technology set that we have built into that software solution, Amazon's now able to address a lot of the things that they weren't able to necessarily do before with their platform from a storage perspective.
Thank you so much, Mitch. All right, so we still have a few minutes left. For those of you who have any questions for Mitch and Wenchi, please do just type in the chat. Another question, I think this is a great question, supposedly for Ted, but Wenchi can answer this as well. Can you share your views on what you're seeing when traditional companies are considering to moving to cloud? I think a lot of people can relate to this.
Maybe you'll share some real life experience. There's one I do see one, like also like Mitch mentioned, I do see one big roadblock, the training the staff, make sure the staff is ready for transformation. Otherwise, the staff will really worry about their job. Okay, I do see this a big roadblock when really trying to transform the company to go down to the cloud transformation journey, because it's different skill set. Yeah, to make sure your staff are ready for this. Otherwise, you worry about the job security.
Awesome. Mitch, any thoughts on that question as well?
Yeah, that's a great point that Wenchi made is, DevOps and SRE are definitely terms that get thrown around a fair bit. Infrastructure as code, all those kind of things. One of the big premises of DevOps, or operating in a really agile way and utilizing modern practices to manage your environment, a lot of it comes down to culture and that bridge between business and technology. So not only skills, but understanding what technology will meet the business's needs and how to apply that most effectively. So, yeah, I agree 100% with what Wenchi's saying. Is cultures are definitely a very important factor in organizations from a technology perspective as they transform, for sure.
Thank you so much. All right, let me check if we still have other questions. All right, are there any training modules that can help employees acquire these skills that you do when partnering with organizations? So this is for Amer of Anovu. Anyone want to take it, Mitch or Wenchi?
Happy to throw in an answer there. Unless you want to go first, Wenchi.
That's okay. Mitch, we go first, and then we are on. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Look, Netapp, like most technology companies, has training and certification programs that both customers and partners can follow. Also, too, there are a great deal of resources online available these days, which I find amazing. In terms of online learning, particular to cloud skills. One way I learn is by doing stuff. Hands-on, for example. So Netapp's got a lot of capability around online labs and virtual learning. For Netapp customers and partners, we've got a lot of online virtual self-paced labs that you can do to learn how a particular technology works. And that's what I recommend to a lot of our customers too, that are used to managing an environment in a particular way on-prem. Learn how the technology works in cloud, and suddenly you can understand where else within your capability you need to grow to support cloud in your skill base.
Thank you, Mitch. I just add on a bit, right? So thank you for asking the question. Actually, we understand this challenge in the market. Actually, we have a training arm. Okay, but for our training, we also authorized training partner for Netapp. Definitely, anybody is interested in Netapp, and then we are more than happy to really offer you the custom training. But we do understand custom training is not enough. Actually, we have a customized training with hands-on lab together with our experienced consultant. Actually, we offer a lab on demand. Then actually they can book a session to go and try out. The lab is available for all the hyperscaler like AWS, GCP, Azure. If they want to try out, they can try it out. At the same time, very important, actually they can book a consultant's time to really to get a consultation, see if they have any question, they hit to any issue, at least they can ask to a consultant. Yeah. So I'm more than happy to link up with you to share more on this.
Thank you so much, Wenchi. All right, yeah, Mitch sent over a link, so you can go check that out. I think that's about it for the Q&A. So before we end quickly, Wenchi, can you please take any closing notes?
Okay, thank you for for organizing this. Thank you for Netapp supporting this. Very happy to have Mitch in the session, and then very happy to have all the audience joining us, and very happy to share the experience on the data fabric together with Mitch. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, same, Wenchi. From a Cloud Kinectics perspective, we really wanted to say thank you, and to all the awesome customers we've got on this call. Happy to work with you all, and look forward to talking to you all soon. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rich. Thanks, Wenchi. And yeah, so before we end, just a quick one. So we do, of course, have a survey. So if you can please key in or get the survey from the QR code, or Camille have sent the link. It's a bit long, so we'll give you a few minutes, or you can obviously complete that later, right after the event. We can also send it over. So please do take our survey, and we'll have a small treat when you do answer the survey. All right, I guess before we end the session, as promised, we'll be doing the lucky draw. And for those of you who are still with us, we'll just do the draw now. So Raisa? So it's a wheel, and he's here. Congratulations, Miriam. We will be connecting with you right after, so that we can, so you'll know how to coordinate with your price. All right, I think that's about it for our time. Again, thank you so much, and we hope that this session sparks some thoughts, and we do encourage everyone to stay in touch. If you'd like to be connected to anyone from Netapp or Cloud Kinectics, or to Mitch or Wenchi or Ted, our first speaker a while ago, please do let us know, and we'll happily do so. Again, thank you so much, and have a great day, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.